often do we hear people ask, what are we going to do to ensure that Canadian youth get involved with civic affairs, with democracy, start voting and participating in our society? Well, I'm so proud of a small high school, it's not that small really, in my riding, Claremont High School in Cordova Bay, that answered this question with something they called Rails to Relevance.
The IGS project Rails to Relevance brought 37 students across the country by train. The trip was designed to teach us the workings of governance and spotlight the many people of Canada. Our Via Rail journey took us from Vancouver to Toronto, then on to Ottawa and Quebec City. Along the way, we had 2 guiding questions, and we quickly began to see that there is no one idea of what it means to be Canadian. We asked citizens from all walks of life what to them it meant to be Canadian, and what Canada's responsibility to the world was. There were a wide variety of answers, but the main themes were multiculturalism, democracy, and helping others. All the people we interviewed felt lucky to live here and feel a sense of duty towards the poor nations of the world.
Rails to Relevance was absolutely the greatest field trip I've ever been on, because we got to sort of take a big step back and go, okay, we want to teach kids about governance and how they can engage in government. And to do that, putting them on a train and driving them all the way across their country with access to politicians, from members of parliament to our MLA and Lana Popham and Elizabeth May, and to actually get to sit there with no place to be because you're on a train for 3 days and 4 nights was amazing. And it seems simple, but I feel like every kid should have access to their government leaders and be able to ask really big questions like, what does it mean to be a citizen of Canada, and what is Canada's responsibility to the world? And for that, I mean, I'm really grateful.
So using this inquiry-driven model where these kids had to answer these 2 defining questions really opened up the possibilities, and the fact that we were able to get iPads lent to us by Apple so they could document their trip and their questions and then come back and turn them into these incredible documentaries that can be shared. It really showed what can happen when you don't just put bookends on what these kids need to learn about. So they had to find out the themes of what it means to be Canadian, and then reach back and find out where do these themes come from, how do we get here, and how come these themes are what make us Canadian.
The train was literally a traveling classroom across the country. We were lucky enough to have Elizabeth May and Lana Popham actually doing seminars in the observation deck of the train. And I even gave a lecture on the geography and physiographic regions of Canada. So not only was it about politics, which was a huge part of it, but it was also about learning the geography, social aspects, and the culture of Canadian citizens.
It was a pretty amazing experience, and when we finally did get to Ottawa, the bonding between the kids had been incredible. And then to be given unparalleled access to the House of Commons and a tour by our own MP, to be given a tour of the Senate during all the excitement that was happening there by Senator Mitchell, was incredible. And I think, in speaking with these kids leaving, I mean, I don't think you can bring social studies and democracies in our institutions to life anymore than actually being there. We actually arrived in Ottawa on the day that was heralded by the Globe and Mail as the darkest day in Canada's democratic history.
People were really captured by young people asking these 2 questions, particularly when it comes to what does it mean to be a citizen of Canada. We could answer those or ask those same questions and not have near the impact. When young people ask those same questions, people open up. And if anything, there were a lot of adults asking, when are you coming back? Because we'd like to get more involved the next time. We have as many as 7 different countries represented in our class, and to see them go through some of the same questions and just see what it is to be Canadian, and then reflect on, you know, what it means back in Japan or back in China or in Germany, and how that interaction can maybe play out in the future. If anything, I would love this to sort of demystify politics for our kids. I'd love to know that maybe 5 or 10 years from now, we have engagement from these young adults unlike have ever come from any one class before. So in the end, we had a Citizen Can Film Festival. where we had our kids help us choose the best of the documentaries, at least as they'd been finished. And we reached back into the community, invited all of those people that supported us to come out again to see what it is that these kids had learned. And the reverberations from that night are still continuing. They're powerful documentaries, and people are already asking, how can I see that again? How can I share these documentaries? And I think, you know, with this kind of model of 21st century education, the evaluation becomes so much more about communicating with a larger audience and giving kids a voice to really talk about big, important issues.